Thank you. Welcome everybody for attending this Town Council virtual meeting tonight, July 14th, 2020. We're going to start off with our budget workshop, and then we'll be following that by our CRA and then our regular Town Council meeting. Just a reminder to everybody out there, this is a virtual meeting. There are Town Council members in the chamber, 2 of us here. Other ones are separated, Paul Shalhoub, and Albert Pavone in different locations. So we're practicing social distancing. With that being said, could we have a call to order?
Mary, you want to do the roll?
I'm sorry, roll call.
Mayor Valtine Rodriguez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Paul Shalhoub,
Present.
President Pro Tem Robert Shalhoub, Councilmember Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Councilmember Albert Pavone.
Here.
Thank you. We're going to start with a moment of silence tonight for a few persons. First of all, Wayne E. Pickren was 67 years old. He's Eliza Hansen's father. He passed away on June 21st. Emily Abel, she was 90 years old. She's Councilmember Greg Freebold's mother-in-law. She passed away July 2nd, 2020. We also want to have a moment of silence for unfortunately, for all the people who've died from COVID. 573,000 have died worldwide. 138,000 have died in the United States. 4,408 have died in the state of Florida, and 624 have died here in Palm Beach County. Thank you. Pastor Stan, would you please lead us in our invocation tonight?
Absolutely, Mayor. Thank you very much. Let us pray. A reading from Philippians. To all God's holy people, grace and peace to you from our God and our Father and Lord. I thank my God every time I remember you in all my prayers for all of you. I always pray with joy because of your partnership from the first day until now, and being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on into completion until the day of our Lord. Heavenly Father, we pray that your presence would be over us, that you would continue to guide and lead us by your Holy Spirit. Come before you in thy precious and holy name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor Stan. I appreciate that. We're going to do a Pledge of Allegiance as well to the flag over here. If you can see it. Would you lead us, Pastor Stan? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
Yeah.
to the republic for
And to
which
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A little difficult to do the pledge sitting at a computer, but fortunately we're able to do it. So with that being said, we have the presentation of our proposed 2020-2021 town budget by our town manager, Dan Clark, and I'm going to turn the floor over to him.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The budget was a little challenging this year. We believe that we'll see general fund revenues off an estimated 13%, which equates to about $391,000 for our budget. Add to that revenue deficit, we had garbage rates go up about $57,000. And this is good news, bad news. The CRA is doing phenomenal, which means that our contribution to the CRA had to go up. So we see a $37,000 contribution to the CRA. Those are the general fund side of the picture. In the utility fund, we did not get our legislative special appropriation for $236,000. So our budget really required us to go back and take a look at our core mission. What are the things that we commit to our residents to provide? What are the most important things that we do as a municipality? Police services is the first, code compliance is the second, utility services are the third, permitting and business licensing I put as the fourth, and finally general government. Following those concepts of a core mission, as we built the budget, we tried to protect those areas at the expense of maybe some of the other parts of our business. So there's no capital expenditure in the general fund. We cut out all of the capital expenditure and we cut out the leases for the new vehicles. So based on the enterprise fleet agreement that we signed, we were supposed to get 4 new vehicles this year, 2 of them in general fund, and we did not order those vehicles. We also are looking at very limited expenditures in parks and recreation. We've asked, or we are asking tonight, to also limit special events. We don't believe that we can safely manage any of the events that we have scheduled for the fall. So the budget is built based on no lake cleanup in September, no better than Halloween in October, no loop around the lake in November, and no holiday parade or tree lighting in December. Again, with the mass gatherings at locations where we don't have bathrooms or any of that, it just seems that we're asking to put people at risk that we don't need to put at risk. In the general fund then, having considered all of that, when we actually get down to crunching the numbers, in the general fund, there's no change in the millage rate. We're maintaining 6.2798 millage for the 10th year. Our current year rollback rate would have been 6.0388 millage. The current taxable value is $285.9 million. That's up 4.33% from last year. Our previous year final taxable value was $273.98 million. Again, we are anticipating a loss of $391,000 in revenue from the COVID-19 impacts, and most of that has to do with sales tax and building permit fees. We did see a fall off for 2 months in building permits. Now we're starting to see that rebuild again. General fund proposed budget is a balanced budget this year. Labor, we have no changes in staffing, and we have no changes in benefits, health insurance, and retirement. We are looking at a merit increase of 3.0%, and that's following the collective bargaining agreement with the police union. That's what their contract says, and we treat all of our employees the same, even though the cost of living increase was actually down 0.2%. The garbage collection fee is up 24%. We spent a lot of time and energy looking at bidding garbage services. Excuse me. We looked and talked to a lot of different cities that have gone through this process in the last 6 to 9 months. We felt that it was in the town's best interest to try and negotiate with Waste Management. They have proposed a rate that is an increase of 24%. That does include automated collection. Automated collection comes with cans, so we have to have those special cans. The price of the cans is included in the fee. Infrastructure surtax fund. Again, we're anticipating a loss of revenue there. We've been getting about $245,000 a year. I am projecting $199,000 next year. We do have planned expenditures of $1,113,000. That's drainage repair, road maintenance, and bridge construction. And yes, we are looking at building the Pine Tree Bridge probably around April of 2021 for a 90-day period. April is the date that's more or less being dictated to us by Palm Beach County and FDOT as the period where they see the lowest amount of traffic on Forest Hill. Our estimated carry forward in the surtax fund will be $216,000. We borrowed, by the way, the deficit, the $1 million deficit is based on the borrowing of $887,000 last year for the bridge. The CRA fund, county's contribution will be $28,500 estimated. The town's contribution, as we talked earlier, is $37,400. We have planned expenditures of $64,000, and that includes 2 new beautification programs where we're recommending that we adopt programs to allow businesses and the multifamily parcels to invest in beautifying their property, and we will match them dollar for dollar up to $5,000 per parcel. We still have some business incentive project monies to spend next year for Four Brothers, and we expect a carry forward there of $3,000 at the end of the year. The utility fund, that's probably the bright spot. As people have been staying home, they've been using more water, so we're actually seeing an increase in revenues in the utility fund. Again, we're proposing a 3% salary increase, no change in staffing, and no change in benefits. We're not proposing any new debt in the utility fund. We are looking at the transfer to the general fund at $220,000, and a few of the initiatives that we'll be tackling is to finish and implement the rate study that kicked off about 2 weeks ago. Close the agreement with Mar-a-Lago K. I'm hoping in August we bring forward a developer agreement with Mar-a-Lago K to provide them with water. That would be 620 new customers. We've talked about this in the past, but they seem serious this time, so we're hoping we can close that development agreement. The Mar-a-Lago K service will require a new 12-inch water main. We were notified 2 weeks ago that Palm Beach County is going to help us fund that 12-inch water main project with $125,000 out of CDBG money. So we're grateful for them helping us with that. The Board of County Commission will approve that allocation on August 24th. And finally, we're moving forward with constructing the new utility admin building next year. Excuse me. The utility fund budget, the utility fund is an unbalanced budget because the 12-inch water main project was actually money that we borrowed in 2016. And the construction of the new utility admin building included money we borrowed in 2018. So those expenditures didn't occur back then. That money was put in a restricted reserve fund, and it will be pulled out to fund the projects this year, along with a couple of lift station upgrades and 2 new leased vehicles in the utility department. And that concludes my formal presentation on the budget. I'm available to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you, Clark.
Mr. Mayor, please. Sorry, you were
That's
muted.
okay. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Clark. We appreciate your presentation. Tonight, as a part of this budget workshop, we're going to have council comments and audience comments. Well, I guess we should start with council comments as a part of the agenda. So I would go over to Mr. Pavone to the right of me. Hi. You have any comments or questions regarding the presentation?
Nope, everything was covered. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Freebold
I have no questions at this time.
and Vice Mayor Paul Shahoub.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan, great presentation. I think your hard work on this. You have a couple questions. It's mainly related to carry forward to the infrastructure tax funds on balanced budget. The carry forward, so we're going to have $260,000 in excess of what we're going to be spending. What do you mean by the carry forward there?
Vice Mayor, you have terrible reverberation in your mic. I can't understand the question you're asking.
Is this better? Is better?
No.
No.
I'll just switch. Is that better?
A little bit?
Is that better?
I'll ask my questions later.
Well,
That's
actually,
perfect.
we
No,
can
that's
hear you
perfect.
now.
You're good right there.
All right, my question was related to the carry forward. Can you just explain that on the unbalanced budget infrastructure surtax of 216 and the $3,000 on the CRA?
So we've been collecting money at the rate of about 245,000 a year, but we have not been spending that much. So we have a infrastructure, in essence, an infrastructure reserve fund, and the carry forward of that reserve fund will be dollars not spent within the infrastructure program.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
No other questions, Vice Mayor Shahoub?
No other ones, thank you.
Mr. Clark, my mic's on? Okay, my only question was, I just wanted to follow up on the increase for waste management. So everyone understands, we're going to an automated system. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so that's going to limit each house, I guess, to one can.
Correct.
Okay. And
However, we have the option of different sizes of cans. Let me respond differently. You can have more than one can. It just has to be an automated collection can.
okay.
So you won't be able to use your round Rubbermaid can anymore. The town is going to issue you a can. It'll either be 65 gallon or 95 gallon. If neither of those are sufficient, we'll issue you 2 65 gallon.
Okay. So we'll have to educate the consumers, the residents, that you can't just leave trash bags on the ground anymore and stuff of that nature.
Correct.
Okay. And there's also discussion about maybe breaking up the vegetation pickup into 2 days.
Yeah, we have the benefit in our contract of not having a limit to the amount of vegetation that can be picked up. And there are times like now where everybody's trimmed a lot of vegetation and is on the street. Waste management cannot tell until they show up how many trucks they need in the area. That's inefficient for them and it doesn't help us. So what they're proposing is pick up in zone A, and we don't know what that zone is yet, on Monday, and pick up in zone B on Tuesday. And that will give them some flexibility in their schedule in case there's more out there than they had planned on.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That was the only question I have. I know President Pro Tem Robert Shahoub, I think, has joined us now.
Well, I've always been here. You
Okay,
just
good.
couldn't see me.
Okay, good. Well, since you're always here, did you hear the presentation?
Let me get rid of my. I did hear the president. How do I shut my phone off?
The off button.
Don't laugh at me. Hey, I have stuff on every one of you, so be nice.
I'm okay with that. I know this is not an easy way to conduct a meeting.
All right. Dan, is there any way we can may I ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Dan, is there any way we can postpone or delay our expenditure or contribution to the CRA fund?
No,
We can't give them an IOU?
no.
With regard to the salary increase and the merit, I see on the utility fund where you say it's an unbalanced budget, no change in benefits. While there's no change in benefits, did the health insurance costs stay the same or did it increase?
Health insurance costs stayed the same, retirement stayed the same.
Did, also for town staff?
Correct.
That's remarkable. Everything increases. Dan, thank you so much. I appreciate you talking to me in advance of the meeting and setting me straight and answering all of my questions. I think you and your staff did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other council members want to ask questions before we go to audience comments?
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask one follow-up question to what you have?
Please do.
Dan, if they.
Wait, hold on one second. Microphone on for him.
Yeah,
I'm
hang on. Okay.
Will we have a can for the yard debris pickup if it's not a bulk pickup also?
One more time, please.
So right now, you do not have to have a bulk pickup with the clam truck. You can put your yard debris in a small can. Will there be an automated can for that also, or?
There will still be small pile vegetation pickup, and there will be large pile vegetation pickup. We haven't defined yet whether that's going to be can based or not.
Very good. Thank you.
May I?
On that note,
Yes, we can go to Paul Calhoun first.
let's say you got cardboard boxes, you get a new TV or I don't know, anything that comes in a box, a stove. Is Waste Management expecting you to figure out a way to cut that into pieces and put it in the garbage can? Or they still pick it up like they normally would?
Right, they will.
Okay. I figured that logically would make sense, but all right, thanks.
Okay, Robert.
Dan, yes. Did you ask me?
Yes.
Dan, I don't know whether or not I heard this. There was a lot of garbling in the audio portion of it. With the increase of approximately 24% or 50 some odd $1,000, are we in line? Are the new rates in line with every other municipality in like size and fashion?
Yes. There are a few that are going to be, let me rephrase that. I think there are two that are going to be lower than we are. This is a very complex, challenging issue because commercial rates always, or commercial pickup always subsidize residential, and we have very limited commercial. So our residential rates may not be as low as, say, Juno Beach, which has a huge amount of commercial area in relationship to ours. But we are, I believe, right in the middle when you look at all aspects of our collection. I think that we're right in the middle of the pack. There are going to be some cheaper, there are going to be some more expensive, but things that tip us in the positive are things like unlimited vegetation pickup. There are not very many municipalities that have unlimited vegetation pickup. They're all pretty much capped at a yard or 2 yards or sometimes 4 yards. So we're getting things that others aren't, and we're paying a little bit more on it on the residential side because we don't have the commercial to offset it.
You know, you and I have had this conversation many times, and also we've reached out to the authorized representative from Waste Management about the fact that they missed pickup, so they didn't get everything, or they just didn't show up. What type of reassurances are we going to be provided by Waste Management that they're going to do their job, that sometimes we have perceived that they haven't been doing their job, but yet they get an increase in the fees charged to our neighbors?
I think the best way we can approach that is that they are very, very responsive when we call. They may not catch everything, but when you give them a call and say, go take care of that, they're Johnny on the spot to take care of it. They have, we have, I'm hesitant to say this in a public meeting that's being recorded, but we have violated that agreement a number of times, and they always look the other way and come and help us. Most of that has to do with trees that are cut down by commercial tree cutters that are left on the road to be picked up. Our agreement with them says, and our codes say, that if a commercial tree guy is there and cuts a tree down, he's obligated to haul it away. I know that this weekend we had one on
Westlake.
Evergreen and Chief, where'd we see that?
Well, we had some issues on Pine Tree,
South.
Westlake, Evergreen, and Venetian.
Yeah. So they were kind enough to come out and pick all of that up, and those kinds of services and support, I think, are really important. You can ask other municipalities, they aren't afforded the same flexibility.
I noted that we have a code enforcement hotline where if a neighbor believes that a piece of property is in violation, they can anonymously pick up the phone and leave the information there for code enforcement to follow up on. Maybe we can advertise the same thing with regard to the trash if it's missed.
If it's missed, just call town hall. Heidi used to work for Waste Management. She has all the secret numbers to call over there to get people to respond right away. So just call the main number.
Can I add?
Bob, I think you have some very good questions. I emailed Ellen Smith this morning, and she quickly returned my email, which was great. And we went back and forth. She sent me a municipal rate comparison sheet, and we do seem to be quite a bit below some other municipalities, such as South Palm Beach pays more, Royal Palm, Palm Beach Shores, Gulfstream, Westlake, Haverhill, Glen Ridge, Cloud Lake, Atlantis. So some of these places she gave us for residential rates are actually higher than ours. But I did express concern to her that some actual yard trimmings had not been picked up in my area today, and this has happened several times. And I think it started a dialogue that sometimes we're just, they can't handle our capacity of yard trimmings. And I think that's why she wants to open this dialogue about how breaking it up over 2 different days, which makes sense. I mean, if they can't handle it all, then we need to make sure they get it all. But I like the idea, Bob, of us being able to have a hotline to call, I guess, town hall, because I think mistakes are made.
Well, the key is to social media. It seems to be a desired platform for bringing out our the lack of I should say fulfillment of their responsibilities. I would rather have that phone call made or that notification given directly to Town Hall so that we can respond appropriately with the magic phone number being dialed, rather than it being vetted on social media.
I agree with you, Bob. If you can hear me.
I can, yes.
Okay, good. I agree with you, and I think this is something we probably need to discuss, with Dan. But I can share with Dan the email. At some point, Ellen has communicated and justified why she believes that the new proposed rate is reasonable, and I tend to agree that I guess there's a lot that they are absorbing in costs that they didn't necessarily pass down to us.
Well, Waste Management has been a very strategic partner in all of our extracurricular activities and throughout the year. They're a good partner and a good vendor and a good supplier for services to Lake Clark.
I agree. Any other
But you should also, Dan, am I correct that the additional vendor is in Waste Management is no more? Was it Republic?
It was Republic that left town, correct?
Left town, right? Okay.
Okay. Any other council members have any issues or questions regarding that portion of the budget? Okay. Well, having heard none, I think our next order is to see if there are any audience comments for the town budget workshop. And Dan, do we have any actual emailed questions first?
Not on the budget. No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Any written questions?
One question about the new utility admin building. Where will it be located? And where can LCS residents see what the project will entail and the estimated costs? Right now, the building will be located in Seminole Manor at the water plant. We do not have any plans yet to look at. We're just in the process of developing those now. Even programmatic plans, we're just in the process of developing those. That means how much office space, how much bathroom space, any conference room space, any of that. So it's probably another month and we'll have information that people can look at and we'll start posting that information.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Would there be any other audience comments that you've received on the web here as far as this budget? I don't see any, but it looks like we have 28 attendees.
So Jennifer Chanowski has raised her hand and I will unmute her mic and she can ask her question.
Thank you, ma'am. If you would state your full name and your address for our record.
She is self-muted.
Okay. Let's help her. Where is the button? Is it at the top to unmute?
Mrs. Chanowski, are you there? There we go.
Hi. I didn't have a question. I think I must have hit a button logging
Okay.
on.
No
I'm
problem.
sorry we did this.
Well, thank you for responding. And if you do have a question, just let us know.
I will, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other questions that on this particular for this
No.
particular budget workshop?
No.
Okay. So that being said,
So moved.
thank you. I was gonna ask that question. So we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second. Second.
simultaneous second for Paul Shalhoub and Greg Freebold. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's adjourned. Now we're going to move into agenda number 2, which is our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting of July 14th, 2020. And I'm going to call to order and have the roll call by Mary.
Chairman Valteen Rodriguez,
Here.
Vice Chairman Paul Shalhoub,
Present.
Commissioner Robert Shalhoub,
Here.
Commissioner Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Commissioner Albert Pavone.
Here.
Thank you. Do I have an approval of the agenda motion?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor say second, please. Okay, you got a second by Mr. Freebold. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approval of the consent agenda,
So moved.
second
Second.
by Paul Shalhoub. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. And now we have a presentation of the proposed budget for the 2020/2021 fiscal year for our Community Redevelopment Agency. And that will be you, I assume, Dan Clark?
So back to the one page in the budget that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Back to the one page in the budget that talks about the CRA fund. We're looking at revenues of 28,500 from the county, 37,400 from the town, and planned expenditures of $64,000. We will have the details of the beautification programs available for the budget hearings in September.
Okay. The only question I had, Mr. Clark, is what are the professional consulting finance professional fees for?
We are making a change in this year in the support that we have for what we call the consulting finance person. That is going to be Ron Bennett. Ron Bennett's organization has resigned or will be resigning as the auditor and wants to take over that role. So there's some money in for him. There's also some money in there for Jeff Larson, our finance and investment guy, because there's always this discussion going on in Tallahassee about whether they stop our CRA, and that seems to be dependent upon whether you have a loan or not. So at some point in time, we may be wanting to take out a loan for the CRA to protect our future revenue stream.
Thank you. So as a part of this meeting, we're going to go to first audience comments. And do we have any audience comments, particularly for this issue?
I see none in written questions, and I see no hand raised in attendees.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn over to commissioner comments now, and I'll first ask Robert Shalhoub if you have any.
We're fine.
Albert Pavone,
I'm good.
Greg Freebold,
No questions at this time.
Paul Shalhoub.
No questions. Thank you very much, Dan.
Yes, I thank you, Dan, for first of all spearheading this and making sure this got done. And some good things are happening. We have a new restaurant opening up.
The CRA is going gangbusters.
That's good. That's great. Okay, so I think there's much more here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
And seconded by?
Second.
Okay, so it's moved by Paul Shalhoub, seconded by Robert Shalhoub. All those in favor, say aye. Thank you. It's adjourned. Now we're going to move into the third agenda for tonight, which is our regular town council meeting of July 14th, 2020. And Mary, I'd ask you again to do a roll call
Mayor Valteen Rodriguez,
here.
Vice Mayor Paul Shalhoub,
Present.
President Pro Tem Robert Shalhoub,
Here.
Councilmember Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Councilmember Albert Pavone.
Here.
And do I have an approval of the agenda motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Second. Moved by Robert Shalhoub, seconded by Paul Shalhoub. All those in favor say aye.
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 We have a rather large consent agenda. Do I have a
So moved.
motion?
Second.
Seconded, moved by Robert Shalhoub, seconded by Paul Shalhoub. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And so we have a presentation by Ron Bennett. Do we want to do Ron first before we do Virginia Savieto?
Virginia.
Okay, let's do Virginia first because it's probably going to be shorter. She's a candidate for School Board District 2. We, at the last council meeting, had another person running for that as well, Alexandria. So if we can pull in Virginia wherever she is.
Right here.
Oh, great. There you are.
There I am. Great. Good evening. I'm so excited to be here in front of you. As most of you know me, my name is Virginia Savieto, and I am running for the School Board District 2. I got a phone call late May from Chuck Shaw. And Mr. Shaw, who's actually the school board member for District 2, said, Virginia, I am not seeking re-election. I will support you. I called the other school board members. I talked to 3 of them, and they're on board. They're very excited. So who am I? I've been in District 2 for 32 years, actually. And I was going to ask Councilman Mr. Pavone, is your mom Ana and Humberto?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I have pictures with you when you were a little younger. We went to St. Juliana together, and please tell them I said hi. Last time I saw them, they looked great. They were in Home Depot. Anyways, I've lived in District 2 for 32 years. I'm a certified teacher. I taught English as a second language in Lake Worth High, and that's where I went. I came from Argentina when I was 13 years old, so now you can know my age. And I was thrown into high school with no English at 9th grade. I had to navigate the system. My parents had to navigate the culture. I had to navigate the school district. It was just very challenging. I made it. I got I went to college. I got 2 bachelor's degree and a master's degree. I've always been in District 2. And then I taught English as a second language, and that for me was the key, because when I taught English to adults, young adults in Lake Worth High, actually I went back to my high school and I taught them, and so they could learn English to get their GEDs. So that was wonderful, because then I saw the need in the community, and I said, what am I doing? I need to get involved. That was 17 years ago that I got involved in the community, and most of you may know, but I have not stopped doing things. I'm very excited about this opportunity, but above, being in the community for 17 years hands-on, besides working and living in District 2 for 32 years and having deep roots, I work for Commissioner Greg Wise, who also is District 2. So both districts overlap. I'm very deep rooted in this district. Above all of that, gentlemen, and I can say gentlemen, there's no women here. You know what? I'm a mother. I'm a mother of Luca, Greg. You've seen my son, and he's 9 years old. And I can tell you something very real, that if you're not a parent going through this pandemic right now, closing out the year and now reopening again, and I promise you, you do not know the anxieties that we feel as parents. Have we done enough? Is he learning? Oh my God, his computer's not working. Okay, let me stop my computer. There's so many variables that we need to understand in order to understand the whole system. I'm excited that I'm in this position with my expertise, my leadership, my maturity. I have a lot of energy. Like I said, I have not stopped working. in the district with the people. Before working for Commissioner Greg Wise, I worked for a marketing, as a marketing director for a software company. But prior to that, I worked for Palm Beach County Public Affairs for over 13 years. So I have plenty of knowledge of the county, the services, agencies. I have won leadership awards, national and local awards, and I'm really excited to bring that on. Like I said, the pandemic is not an easy feat, and we have challenges ahead of us, and they're real. They're real. I talk to my colleagues that are parents. I talk to my neighbors who are parents. I talk to teachers, and they're all in the same boat. We don't know what's going on, and we can't experiment with somebody that doesn't have experience in the maturity in the seat. We need somebody who actually has been running. So I'm not gonna start running. I have been running all this time, and I'm not gonna stop now. I'm very excited that in this month and a half that I've been doing this race, I've had amazing support. Even Chief's wife, Beverly, Mayor Beverly from Palm Springs has endorsed me. Former District 2, School Board District 2, Burdick has endorsed me. But besides that, of course, my boss gave me the blessing. He's in a canvassing board, so he can't come out and endorse, but he has blessed me for the position, and I'm excited. I'm humbled in front of you today to ask that you look at my qualifications, the experience that I bring, the things that I want to do as an immigrant. I know firsthand what was to, and I still have an accent, right? So I know firsthand what was to study in high school, to learn, and then to try to go to college. 30 years later, kids are happening and they're going through the same motions. You do not know what it is to be in those shoes unless you were in those shoes. And I want to make sure, one of the things that are close to my heart, I want to make sure that we have initiatives that will prepare our children not only to go to college successfully. We have Path to College, and we have so many agencies that are helping Stake Talking Children, that are helping children to move on, but also learn a trade. I'm very passionate about learning and doing something, even if it's just for a short while until they figure it out in their late 20s or early 30s if they want to go to college. So I have the partnerships. I've been part of this community again. Mr. Shahub, you know that my parents live next to your church, and I'm very excited that we know each other. We're family in the sense. I live here and I own my house. So I bring a lot to the table. Again, my son is part of me, and I want to do something not only for my son, but for the almost 200,000 kids that we have in public school. Again, I don't know if you have any questions, but again, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Virginia. Any council members want to ask any questions?
No.
No questions. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Good luck.
Thank you. Councilmember Greg Freebold.
Good evening, Virginia. How are you tonight?
Good, nice to see you.
Nice to see you also. Tell us your feelings on the reopening of Palm Beach County schools under the current situations.
Yeah, let me tell you, I get it. I want the kids to go back to school. I understand why parents want them. I mean, I want my kid to go back to school. He was just telling me in the car yesterday, I wish I could just turn around and say, stop and say it again so I can record you, right? But it's not the same. And I said, he said, Mommy, I miss my friends. He's 9. He just finished 3rd grade and going in 4th grade. And I mean, I can cry if I talk a little more about this situation, but I said, I know, honey, I know. I want you to go back to school. I want you to have that social, because Lucas, the name of my son, he's smart. He can handle it, but we don't have all these kids in the same boat. Now, I feel that we have to close because it's very dangerous. You see, I'm a working mom. I'm a single working mom. So who picks up Luca? My dad, Danny, right? So Danny picks up my son and takes him to grandma and grandpa's house, where we have great grandma living there too. So it is so dangerous right now for our teachers, for our students, for the grandparents that are helping parents like me until we get off work. So I feel that being closed, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. It broke my heart that he couldn't go to summer school and be outside playing and getting sweaty and smelling. You know, it broke my heart. It breaks my heart that, you know, maybe we can't even go places, but we have to take care of our, you know, of our health, because if we don't, then we will have dead and sick teachers and parents and grandparents. And then if I get sick, then I can't work, and who's going to provide for my son? So it is challenging. I know some of them, the parents don't want the schools to be closed, but I promise you, if we tighten up our belt, we can do it. We can do 6 months, hopefully by March, or maybe before January. Maybe things are better. Look, my kid goes into 4th grade with this new initiative. He would never go back to school in any stage until the school would open again. So I'm thinking, oh my God, Luca wouldn't, I mean, it could be another school year, right? But you know what? It's for the overall health. And I think that's important. Somebody that that will push. And one more thing I wanted to mention, I have the census back here because maybe some of you don't know, but I've been for a year and a half, I've been doing presentations for the census, just because I noticed when the county put a table of leaders, the county did not include not even one Hispanic leader, not one Jamaican, not one Haitian, not one Muslim. So how is the county going to count everybody if we don't empower the leaders that represent our communities? So I did presentations, date nights, Sunday mornings. Luca knows more about the census than some of the grown-ups. I promise you, he's gone along with me to presentations at any time. So what happened, I partnered up with the League of Women Voters. And I said to them, look, you know, they were amazing with the census. They loved the idea that I could speak Spanish. We did some PSAs recently for the past 2-3 months. They paid, they said, well, you know, pick a couple of radios. I did them in Spanish. The pandemic was going on. And anyway, so we did really good interviews, live interviews, recorded interviews, and the PSAs. And Pedro Guilarte, who's this amazing Cuban gentleman who's been in the community for a long time, has worked for the census this past 2 census. And he did a study on the areas, and we went up 3%. The Hispanic community went up 3%, which is 15,000 people that we counted at, you know, at $16,000 per person for a period of 10 years. That's a lot. And I'm proud of that. You see, nobody said, Virginia, you have to take on the census. You see, as the administrative assistant to Palm Beach County Commissioner Greg Wise, we could have said to staff, take over. You know, you need to do this. I didn't do that. I actually went on and I handed and I did the strategy. We sat down with Pedro. My background is in creative strategies. So anyways, I care about our people. I care, and you know, because you're public servants, not only about the money that we bring or the reapportionment of the district, but you know what? Why it's so important, the census? Because we cannot represent people that we don't know that exist. If they're not in paper, then they actually don't exist, although we know that they exist. And then we don't have the money to provide to them. So I've been very passionate about things like that, just because I'm passionate. Nobody has to actually tell me to do something. I do it.
Well, I appreciate that answer. Good question, Greg. A tough question. Albert, you have a question? Robert Shaw?
No question. I'll let my parents know you said hi.
Please. Hola.
Bob Shalhoub?
I want to see the pictures.
The pictures?
Good luck, Virginia.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Virginia, look at this.
Oh, I know. That's wonderful. That's my picture. Yes, sir.
He's adorable.
He and I were graduating the same month. It was just so awesome. It was like great.
That's cute. I like that picture. Well, I appreciate Look, your district is heavy Hispanic, obviously. And is my mic on? Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, so your district is heavily Hispanic. I remember talking at length with Chuck Shaw about the desires and needs of that district. So, you know, it's going to be a tough race because both of you are battling it out, or I guess there's several of you, I'm not sure, but whoever wins, I think it's a good testament that all of you care. This is probably the absolute most important year to be on a school district, a school
Right.
member. I
But
mean,
you
this
know
is
what's the difference? But you know what the difference is, Mayor? That I'm the only one that lives in the district. I don't use my mom's address in Palm Springs and live in there right with my boyfriend. That's a big difference. And I am sorry, but if you are in politics and you know what's going on behind the scenes, you would know a lot more. And I'm hands-on. I'm a District 2 person, like I was District 87. I've been here 32 years and I am not moving. I own my house. I'm a working person who has bills, who has a kid, and I'm not going to soften it up. I am uniquely qualified and I'm the only person who actually has ties with the school board. I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, and you would never know what I know as a parent if you're not. But thank you so much for your words.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate that.
Looking forward to seeing you again. I know when we have our quarterly meetings in my day job.
Right. We'll be there for you. Okay. Thank you so much. You have a good evening. Thank you for coming in.
Good night, everyone.
for
Thank
talking
you.
to us. Thank you. Okay, great. So we are now on our presentation of the 2018-2019 physical audit. I assume we have Ron Bennett somewhere out there in computer
I'm
land.
here. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Can we see you?
Not really.
That's okay. You're not using a video?
No,
That's
not
okay.
tonight.
Hey, you're smart. Hey, you figured it out. So you figured out how to talk to us. Ron, thank you so much for being available. Could you give us the presentation that you were prepared for?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you and discuss the fiscal year 19 audit. I hope everyone has received a bound copy by now. I'm sure you probably have a PDF copy, and you probably have a PDF copy of the little pamphlet that we prepare each year. We delivered printed copies today, I think. But I'm going to start with talking about the reports, and then we'll talk about the numbers last. That's the part I like the best. Within the body of the bound report, there are actually 4 reports. The first one is required by generally accepted auditing standards. The second one by generally accepted government auditing standards. And the third and the fourth are required by the Auditor General of the state of Florida. The first report is on pages 1 through 3. It's the independent auditor's report. In this report, we, Nolan Alton Minor, as the town's independent auditors, render an opinion on the financial statements, and I'm delighted to say again this year that we believe, based on our audit, that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The second report is on pages 69 and 70. This is a report that's required by, as I said earlier, generally accepted government auditing standards. And it has a name that would wear you down. The name's four lines long. But basically, it's a report on internal control and compliance. And in this report, we don't give an opinion. We just report on our procedures and what we found. And I'm happy to say we didn't find anything untoward that has to be reported. So that's a clean opinion. The third report is the management letter that's required by the Auditor General. That's on pages 71 to 73. And they basically dictate the format, and we just have to check for compliance with a number of issues and state whether we found things were in compliance or not. Everything there was good with the exception of they're over budget a little bit. And you can tell that by looking at the schedule, so I got to report it. The final report is the independent accountant's report on compliance with section 218.415 Florida statutes. since I'm speaking to a panel that contains multiple attorneys, you're probably familiar with that section. That's the statute that specifies what types of investment vehicles municipalities in Florida can invest their surplus funds in. And I'm happy to say that we found, based on our audit, that the town is in compliance with the statute. Now I'd like to talk about the numbers, but before that, one last, there's a section in the report on pages 4 through 11 that the management of the town prepares. It's called Management's Discussion and Analysis. And it's very well written, and it gives you a good overview of the the town. It does a 2-year comparison, and if you don't feel like wading through, better part of 100 pages in the report, you can read those few pages and get a good picture of what happened financially, not just this year, but the trend from last year to this year. And also, I know the town talks a lot about budgets, and there's actually there's 2 budget schedules in here. One of them's condensed. That's on page 60 and 61. But the detailed budget expenditures, pages 65 through 68. This is actually a line item budget. It shows every line item in your general ledger and the budgeted amount and the actual amount. The little pamphlet we provide shows graphs of the general fund revenues and expenditures, separate graphs. I'd like to talk about those. I actually have all the numbers here in front of me. It's a 5-year trend. The trend from last year to this year was on revenues. The total general fund revenues increased from about $2,871,000 to $3,089,000. That's a increase of $219,000 or 7.6%. If you have the pamphlet in front of you, you can see it's like a stair step. It's gone up every year for the last 5 years. That 7.6% increase was due to an increase in ad valorem taxes of about $96,000, an increase in intergovernmental revenue. This is the half-cent sales tax and the state revenue sharing and grants and those sorts of things of just over $70,000. Licenses and permits increased $18,000. There was a significant drop off of about $65,000 in fines and forfeitures, and the reason for that is that 2018 was an unusually high year. 2019 is actually the second highest year in the last 5, but there was a major, I think it was a code enforcement case that had a very large fine in the prior year, and it's returned more to normal levels this year. The remainder, there was about $112,000 increase in miscellaneous. That covers a multitude of sins, but the biggest increase in there was the police department special services. They increased that revenue about $83,000. So it was a good year on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, the total expenditures in the general fund increased from $3,049,000 to $3,491,000. That's an increase of $442,000 or 14.5%. And primarily, the increase was due to capital outlay. You had some capital outlay projects, the improvements to City Hall, tennis courts, the public safety building, and public safety expenditures themselves. Operating expenditures increased about $57,000, general government about $103, highways and streets went down about $102, culture and recreation was pretty much flat, and as I said, capital outlay increased almost $366,000, just an increase of about $20,000 in debt service. The unassigned fund balance, there actually, for the general fund, is one of those numbers that's critical. And the town at the end of September 19 had an unassigned fund balance of about $771,000, an increase from $668,000 the prior year. And it's about 22.1% of total expenditures in the general fund for 2019. The percentage is fairly similar to last year. It's 21.9 last year, 22.1 this year. The reason the unassigned fund balance is so critical is because those are the resources that the town has at its use for any lawful purpose that the commission would decide to use it for. You have over $1 million in fund balance in the general fund, but the remainders is restricted. About 180,000, if I remember correctly, is restricted for transportation. That is, you'll probably be using that in the next year or two as you're doing the street resurfacing program. Most of that money came from the second local option gas tax, which can only be used for transportation improvements that relate to the capital program. You can't use it for operating items. So all in all, the general fund had a good year. We'll switch over now to the enterprise fund. By the way, the town now has 5 funds. The general fund is your primary operating fund. It has 3 special revenue funds. The CRA is reported as a major special revenue fund. The infrastructure surtax fund is reported as a major special revenue fund, and the forfeitures fund, the police forfeitures, is reported as a non-major special revenue fund. And the 5th fund is a different type of fund. That's the enterprise fund. Governmental funds operate on a different basis of accounting than enterprise funds. Enterprise funds operate pretty much like their generally accepted accounting principles are very similar to a for-profit business. For 2019, the operating income for the utility fund increased from about 185,000 to about 265,000. That's almost an 80,000 increase, or a 43.2% increase in the operating income. Operating income is really important because that's the one you have somewhat control over. There's operating and not operating income in an enterprise fund. The non-operating includes things like your investment earnings, your debt service expenditures, your interest expense, and various and sundry items of that sort. If you had a gain or loss on disposal of capital assets and those sort of things. The net non-operating revenues expenses was a net expense of about $18,000, which was significantly less than the expense in the prior year. It was about $239,000 in the prior year. Overall, the fund balance, the net position, they changed the name of it, of the enterprise fund decreased about $3,750, $3,746 to be exact. So it's pretty much held even in total. You had, as I said, an operating income of $264,000, a non-operating loss of about $18,000, and then there was a transfer out of $250,000 to the general fund. That is a overall summary of the operations. One more item in the enterprise fund. I'll go through the expenditures. They're broken into several categories. Purchase utilities is your largest category. You have to buy all the water and sewer services. Personal services, that's salaries and benefits, is the second largest. Purchase utilities was about 1.26 million. It actually decreased about 23,000. Personal services was 637,000. That was about a 65,000 increase from the prior year. Contractual services was 220,000. That was about a $14,500 increase. Supplies was 44,000. That was a decrease of about 5,400. Utilities and communications was 20,700. That was a decrease of 5,600. Repairs and maintenance was 49,000, and it was essentially the same as the prior year, a few $100 difference. There's an intergovernmental expense, a rent paid to the general fund of 35,000. All the other charges then were 118. They decreased about $8,300. Depreciation was 446,000 roughly. That was an increase of 45,000. All those new assets you're constructing increase the amount of depreciation for future years. So that's my presentation. I'd be delighted to try and answer any questions if anyone has any. And again, if you don't think of the question tonight, call me anytime. I'll be glad to talk to you. If I can't answer your question on the phone, I'll be glad to come out and talk to you as soon as the COVID pandemic's over.
We appreciate that. I have a question, and then I'll ask any council members if they have one. On page 73, you made a recommendation that we adopt budget amendments as necessary to eliminate expenditures in excess of appropriations. That's because I guess we had in certain departments in the general fund, we had expenditures in excess of appropriations. So how do we deal with this, Ron, with COVID? I mean, because
Well, the problem was not a problem with finances. I with your financial consultant, that you could have amended the budget up till 60 days after year end, but you didn't realize you had a budget deficit until, the audit was over, which was, 9 months later. So you should have had this information on a timely basis. I would say that's the reason Mr. Clark would like to change his financial consultant. He just didn't get the kind of response that you should have gotten from your financial consultant. Statutes allow you plenty of time to make these changes, but you got to know that you needed to make a change.
right, then we would vote on it and we wouldn't have a problem.
Correct.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Any council member, raise your hand if you're interested in asking a question. Nobody? Bob Shalhoub?
Yeah, Ron, thank you so much. I look forward to you being our new financial consultant. This is not what we're used to, as you well know by the prior audit. So I'm looking forward to you making darn sure this doesn't happen again.
Well, we're excited about it. Actually, I'm not the financial consultant. Our firm is, but I'll be in charge of the engagement, obviously, and I'll be doing a lot of the work, and I'll be directing all the rest of the work. But we're really excited about it. It's we've
So
done this
are we
kind of
now.
thing before, and I would actually rather be the financial consultant than the auditor. It's a little more fun. I'd rather be helping people than kind of like.
Well, I'll make you a bet right
on what
now.
they've already done. Yeah.
I'll make you a bet right now. We have no comments a year from now.
Can't guarantee it, but I'm sure going to be disappointed if you have any. Let's put it that way.
Thank you again, Ron.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to have served as your auditors, and we really appreciate the opportunity to serve as your financial consultant going forward.
Thanks again. I assume no other questions. Okay, so we're done with presentations. We're now in quasi judicial proceedings, which we have none. We have no public hearing and we have no unfinished business. Our new business tonight is the presentation of the proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. I will have to have Mr. Clark, are you going to lead us in that area?
Read the motion.
So before we read the motion, I need to say that I confirm that the millage rate is 6.2798, that the tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2021 is the same, 6.2798. Certified rollback millage rate is 6.88. The set date for the first public hearing on the proposed millage and budget is September 8th at 6:30. The date set for the second public hearing to adopt the millage budget is September 22nd at 6:30.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Now I need the following separate motions to be made. I need a motion to confirm the 2019-2020 millage rate of 6.2798.
Second.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I need a motion to set the tentative millage rate at 6.2798.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, so seconded by Robert Shalhoub, moved by Paul Shalhoub. All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to certify the rollback millage rate of 6.0388.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul Shalhoub, moved by Robert Shalhoub, seconded by Paul Shalhoub. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I finally need a motion to set the first and second public hearing dates of September 8th, 2020 and September 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Sounded like that was Greg Freebold. Who seconds it?
I'll second it.
And it's seconded by Paul Shalhoub. In stereo. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so is that as far as we need to go, or does the clerk have to do anything further on this? I think that's it, right? Okay, great. That was that portion. We're going to move now into our final portion tonight, which will be audience comments and status reports. So, Mr. Clark, could you first help us with any emailed questions from audience?
We had one email question come in this week and wrote a response and emailed back and forwarded it to council as well. It came from Mrs. Danielle Favis on Pine Tree Lane. They were asking questions about cleaning the lake. About 5 years ago, my response is this. About 5 years ago, WeDo brought their device here for a demonstration. We took, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to mute you because there's feedback. We took it to the south part of the lake, the Mediterranean Bridge area, and tested the machine, and it failed badly. It was just not ready for sale or production at that point. It has a cutter that cuts the stems of the water hyacinth and a scoop so that it can scoop up the cut hyacinth and put it on a barge to be disposed of. Neither of those worked very well for the demonstration. It also seemed to be fairly unstable at the time. Two small pontoons with a whole lot of heavy equipment on it made it challenging. A couple years later, WeDo came back with a much improved version. We took a look at the machine again. It was more powerful. It seemed to work better. It was more stable. We took a serious look at what using the machine for the town would entail. That got us to purchase and maintenance of the equipment, a probable production schedule, how many homes a day did we think we could clean up, barge and tender costs, manpower to operate the WeDo and the barge, disposal costs, and the logistics. How do we actually do this? The bottom line was the equipment, the WeDo at the time was $73,000. The barge was another $50,000, the tender another $30,000, and then the conveyor, because you have to have a way to get it off the barge and into a truck or a dumpster. Those costs totaled $200,000. Operating expenses, it appeared based on an estimated production schedule and what we saw going on around the lake, that it would probably be a full-time job for the WeDo operator and a full-time job for the barge operator. So we put in 2 full-time people, plus the maintenance of the equipment, an estimate for that, plus the fuel. We figured that reoccurring cost would be about $150,000 a year. And then disposal, there is quite an odor that occurs if you lay this out on the ground and let it dry out. So we were planning on taking it straight to the landfill, and that was estimated at 400 tons a year at about $42 a ton for disposal. So at the time, it was decided that the town just couldn't afford those costs. We went to the University of Florida's IFAS website, and they provide 4 methods of managing hyacinth. Chemical treatment is one of the methods that's allowed. They also warn us that hyacinth has a growing period, and that at times during that growing period, it can double in size in 2 weeks. So periods like now, which is its growing season, are going to be very difficult for us, whether it's weed or whether it's chemical, to be able to keep up with the growth of the hyacinth. But the chemical treatment, as we have been doing, is not perfect, but it fits within our budget and capabilities.
Thank you so much. Any written questions we received?
We have a couple of written questions to, tonight that have come in. I'm scrolling through the questions.
Dan, we also have Adam Myron who wanted to present about the judicial candidacy.
Would you like him to do that now, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I wasn't told of that. We want to have a presentation by him?
I don't think he's allowed to do a presentation, but he would like to speak to the council.
Okay. Is he available?
Mr. Myron, are you available?
I know he's listening. I don't know how he can speak.
Okay. Why don't we put him off for a
Oh,
moment?
he says he's muted.
Oh, he's muted?
It says here he's self-muted.
Okay, let's, Mr. Myron, if you can unmute yourself, we will give you the floor.
Hello.
There
I made it. I see smiles. Okay, I made it.
Okay, there you are.
Figured that out.
Hi,
Technology
Adam.
is. Hello, everyone. Thank you for just the opportunity to speak very quickly. Yes, I'm speaking just to introduce myself to the council and to the town of Lake Clark Shores. My name is Adam Myron. I am a father and a husband, an attorney for roughly 18 years, and a certified mediator. And beginning last October, I took on a third aspect of my career as a candidate for circuit court judge. And the reason I did that is because I am passionate about helping ensure confidence and public confidence in the judicial system. And that effort is coming to a head on August 18th, which is election day. And I want to keep this very brief. So again, I just wanted to reach out to the council and the town and encourage everyone to research all of the candidates, including myself in the race. And please help, please do your civic duty and exercise your civic right of voting. Again, my name is Adam Myron. Thank you so much for this minute to speak. I appreciate it.
We appreciate that, Adam. Good luck. And we have one precinct in our town, so make sure you have somebody here.
Yes, sir. I will. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely have somebody here with a sign. And like I said, good luck. I know you've got a tough race. You're running against a judge who, and you have quite a bit of material to deal with. But good luck. Thank you. For any questions by any council members?
No, I just want to thank Adam for coming. As some may know, I have publicly endorsed him for candidate for judge this year, and I'm looking forward to him taking the bench in the near future.
Thank you, Paul Shahoob. Any other questions? Nope.
Nope.
Yes, that's it. Thank you so much, Adam. And it's a hot summer, so have fun campaigning.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other written questions?
Yes, we have a written question from Victoria Prizzi on an update on the current status of the opening of the waterway to the intercoastal.
Would you just want to let her know that that's on, or you want to go ahead and?
If you don't mind.
Please. Thank you, Dan.
Blue Way Trail Inc. has taken over that, taken the lead on that project, and they submitted to the State Department of Environmental Protection for a Blue Way Trail designation in February. That has gotten bound up in the COVID issue, but there have been 2 requests for additional information back from DEP. One was resolved and the other one is over at the Water Management District, and we're working through some challenges there. It's expected that within 60 days, we will have an official designation as a Blue Way Trail. The mayor of Palm Beach County was also pushing hard to get this project funded in his environmental bond issue. That also has gone the way of COVID-19. We're hoping that when COVID turns around, that will come back and we will see an opportunity to fund that in the future. That's about all the information that we have right now.
Thank you, Dan. And now should we open it up to ask anybody who wants to pipe in, who's listening? Right. Anybody who's listening right now who would like to pipe in and ask questions, please indicate so on your computer.
There's one more here from about what we're doing with 6900 Westlake Drive. And that will be up for discussion in the August town council meeting.
And that's August 11th.
11th,
We have the date right.
August 11th.
August 11th.
August 11th, correct.
Okay, that's actually before the election, which is the 18th. Okay. Okay, thank you. That'll be helpful. We'll have that on our agenda.
We have two hands raised in the people attending that would like to ask questions.
Okay, who's the first one?
Pat Boyer.
Pat Boyer, could you unmute your mic and state your full name and address for us?
Yes, Pat Boyer, 1437 Mediterranean Road East. I have a question regarding the issue with the consultant. First of all, with this budget issue, isn't there anyone else looking over this budget? How did you get so far behind? And secondly, why isn't this put out to bid? Whoever you're consulting with now, you said you were going to keep him, which I don't know the man. I don't know what his credentials are, but why is this not put out for bid to other accountants or consultants? Can someone speak about that?
Yeah, I'm going to turn that over to Dan Clark so he can explain. I think maybe you misunderstood a little bit what we were discussing.
Okay.
Mr. Clark, you want to explain it?
We are firing the gentleman that did not do the job he was supposed to do for us. Our policies and procedures do not require us to go out for bid for dollar amounts in this range, this particular type of expertise. We are taking the auditor, who has been our auditor for a very, very, very long time, who has done a phenomenal job for us and always has questions of the financial advisor, and we're making him the financial advisor. So we're kind of making him put his money where his mouth is and do the job that he's expecting everyone else to do. And our relationship with him over the last 15 years, Bob, maybe, has been absolutely phenomenal. He's much more interested in seeing us do everything correctly and willing to help educate us in some of the things we don't know about finance. And we're looking forward to that future relationship.
Anybody want to add anything else? Any other council?
Dan, if I may, Dan,
yes.
A lot of it also had to do with mislabeling or misidentifying the expenditures, correct?
Correct. When everything is coded to a specific line item, and when those invoices come in, they have to be matched to the line item. Generally, if we make a mistake, this financial advisor does an adjusting journal entry to move that where it's supposed to be, and he can do that without bringing it back to council. The challenge was that he wasn't doing his job. And in the absence of that, we had a lot of things coded in the wrong place, and that showed a lot of budget line items over what they should have been.
Thank you so much, Ms. Boyer, for asking the question. Hopefully that answered it. And you're always free to call Dan Clark or any of us council members if you ever have a question regarding this. Obviously, our most important goal is to making sure we're fiscally responsible.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Who is our other person who has raised their hand virtually?
Scott Favis.
Favis, Scott Favis, could you unmute yourself, Mr. Favis, and say your name and address, please?
Scott Davis, 8401 Pine Tree.
Thank you. Could you speak just a little louder, sir? Because we're having a little audio from you.
Scott Davis, 8401 Pine Tree Lane.
Great.
Yes, sir. What was your question?
I'd like to revisit my wife was the one who responded about the weeds, and I would like to revisit that real quick. As a boat owner, I've been around the lake. I've been around the canal system. The severity of the problem is the south end of the lake. There's a total of, I guess, 8 houses. If they were to own a boat, there's absolutely no way to access to their backyard. So my question to you is, what can we do about this?
Thank you, Mr. Favis. We're very familiar with actually those houses. And Mr. Clark, what is your suggestion?
Well, those 8 homes are having a particularly difficult now because it's the growing season. Sorry, those particular homes are having a difficult time right now because it's the growing season, and we can't keep up with the weeds right now in that location. You'll notice that all of our canals have challenges from time to time. Some of it's because of the wind, some of it's because of the growing season, some of it's because of green algae issues, not blue-green algae, but green algae issues. So it makes it particularly difficult. There are periods of time where people can't get down the Mayor's Canal. There are periods of time where they can't get down Mr. Freebold's Canal because of debris blowing or weeds blowing or weeds growing. Our code says that the homeowner is responsible for 6 feet out from their seawall, and we try and make sure that the spraying addresses the rest of it. It doesn't always. There are challenges. We do the best we can. I'm not sure that spending a lot of money is our right approach, but I'm certainly open to whatever council would like to see me move forward with.
Okay, I mean, this is just an ongoing situation. It's not monthly. It's all year round down here at the south end of the lake. And, you know, it's a problem. So if we can find a way to address it, that would be great.
Yes, Mr. Davis, I think I understand what you said, and I agree. Mr. Favis, I heard what you said, and I agree that it would be great if you could start a dialogue with Mr. Clark and ourselves. We live at the south end. I live down the south end. Bob Shelhoop does. Paul Shelhoop does. We all go by there a lot on our boats, and during our lake cleanups, we're always in there trying to get stuff that's stuck in those weeds, and it is a rather bad situation. Our problem right now, I think, is a financial one as far as trying to figure out where we can get the money to do this in these uncertain times. But is there any other council member who wants to pipe in on this?
I'm just curious if Mr. Davis has seen anything researched anything that he could suggest to us that we could look into.
Did you hear that, Mr. Favis?
Don't need you, but as we were, just told it's way too expensive. I mean, it's, I understand it's too expensive. I haven't researched the financial part of it, but literally it's a floating island.
Maybe instead of purchasing it, I mean, could it be rented? I don't know. It seems like maybe if this area were cleaned up a bit. I mean, we've been here his whole life. I've been in this house for almost 7 years, and it's been like this since I've been there. So I don't know that it's just a growing, I mean.
It's almost as if it's stuck there, and
Right.
so
it's maybe we can get it cleaned up so that, it wouldn't get stuck here. I just feel like it's piling on and piling on and piling on. Like there's no end.
And the amount of trash holds is absolutely disgusting.
I think your question's very good, and I think we should look into that, put that on our August agenda, because I mean, if there's some other way we can find to get rid of this that is less costly. I mean, Dan's explained all the different methods. I mean, I think we should certainly bring it back up. It's just we have to figure out if we have a priority to be able to pay for that.
I have an idea, Mayor.
Yes, Paul.
Why don't we, they provided us some very good photos. We reached out to the University of Florida once. Maybe we can reach out to the University of Florida again and provide them with the pictures that have been provided by Mr. and Mrs. Favis, and explain to the University of Florida, this is what we've implemented. Are we doing the best we can in implementing the elimination? Is there something else? Basically, it's a restart or reboot. Maybe there's something out there that they know that we don't.
Did you hear that, Mr. and Mrs. Favis?
Yeah. Yes, and I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay, good. I appreciate that, Mr. Shaw. Would you connect with Dan Clark, Mr. Favis, at some point?
Yeah.
But maybe we can reach out and have a contact person at University of Florida. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Robert Shahub. I go by there in a boat all the time. I just don't like the look of it either.
Well, the picture that he provided, that's my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's backyard
Right.
on the other side of on the other side.
Yeah.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
And like I said, I mean, I know there's people who are seeing, like I said, the amount of trash that is in there. I mean, if people actually knew and got in there to actually see it, it looks like a landfill. It just holds it. Once the trash gets there, it stops. And the amount of bugs, and not to say it's trying to get my boat to the backyard is almost impossible.
Right. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Favis. I appreciate your comments. We're definitely going to get on this and work on that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay safe, sir. Do we have any other questions that have?
We have nobody else with their hand raised, but we did have one new written comment.
Okay, Dan. Sorry.
Can't hear.
I can't hear Dan.
Sorry. We did have one more written comment from Jennifer Chanowski asking about an update on the septic to sewer conversion project and where would the town please post the information about the project on the town website, including the master plan documents? Yes, we'll do that. Can you update on the progress? We have signed a task order with Jones Edmonds to take a look at 2 modifications to the master plan. They are working on that now. They think that they can save several $1 million by making an adjustment to the master plan. So they're working on that task, and we're hoping to see big savings there.
Okay, good. When would we have an answer on that, you think, Dan? When do you think we'd have an answer on that, Dan?
Realistically, 4 months.
And also, Dan, let everybody know that, we lost that $236,000 line item on the budget. The governor's vetoed it.
Right. And again, at the August meeting, we'll be talking with our lobbyist about maybe a new approach to getting that money or a little more for the 21 legislative session.
Thank you, Dan. Very good. Yes, I think Mr. Pinsky will be able to provide us some information. Okay, so I think we're done now with audience comments. We can now move on to status reports. I'll start with the police chief, Wes Smith, who's the president of Town Hall here.
Good evening, Mayor.
Not yet.
Council. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Hold on, Wes. It's do you hear it, Dan? I don't hear it. Do you hear it, Greg?
No.
No, we don't hear it through the earphones. Hold on 1 second. Just want to make sure people can hear you.
Well, he's got to talk.
Can you hear me now?
He is. You can't hear that?
Well, we can hear him talking in the chambers, but you can't hear him, I assume.
I can hear him softly.
Yeah, because you're hearing the echo through our earphones, or through our microphones. Let's see if we can get it to work.
Well, he's not muted, so.
Looks like
All
he's
right.
frozen.
How about now?
There you go.
All right, good. Mayor, council members, I submitted my report. You have a copy of the activity for last month and the totals. Be willing to answer any questions. If you have any questions, feel free.
Okay, raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, we'll start with Greg Friebel.
Chief, I'm just looking over here at the Marine unit. Am I up and running? There we go.
Okay.
We've had a total hours, 44 hours on the water.
That's correct.
Okay, and he's done 18 stops, and this is from the last council meeting, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there any reports regarding the equipment checks?
He did 6 equipment checks, and he issued 12 warnings. Most of those were the jet skis.
Okay, good. Is there there's just been some reports of problems at the boat ramp itself, and we've talked about that with the civility and everybody taking place. Does he ever just station himself there, or anyone else, or is this strictly on the water?
It's on the water. Also, the officers do go by the boat ramp. We did have a disturbance last Sunday, but when the officers arrived there, the individual was gone on arrival.
Okay, very good.
Please raise your hand if you have a question. Paul
I do.
Shepard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Chief, thank you very much for preparing this report. What is unique about this report compared to others is not only did you call out what the Marine unit's been doing, which I think is great, but also what the officers have been doing on the road. There's a lot of vehicles being observed and speed being checked. And I think it's worth at least sharing with all the residents listening in, that basically, despite the appearance of a lot of speeding that takes place, certainly something I've observed over the many years I've lived here, there's some bad actors, but seemingly a lot of good ones. From my discussion with the chief earlier, these statistics were taken by the officers actually checking the speeds of the vehicles that were driving by as they were policing our roads or stationed out on Westlake Drive and different blocks, 8400, 6900, 7000 block, 7500 block as well over the last month. And the average speeds were 28, that's with over 150 cars, 28 with another 68 vehicles, 25 with 60 vehicles, 27 with 49, and 27 with 40. So I think that's actually a good sign. But my question is, how many tickets were issued for those individuals who were going in excess of the speed? Do we have any tickets issued?
We did. Hold on just a second. Eight traffic tickets were issued and 2 were criminal.
Okay. Did they pull them over and give them warnings to the people that were doing there's like 32 miles an hour, 36, stuff like that?
If they were, some people were issued traffic citations, some people were issued written warnings, and some people were issued verbal warnings, depending on the speed.
But the verbal warnings and the ticket warnings didn't make the list, is that right?
That's correct. I just put the average speed and the traffic stops. They're in the report.
Right. Thank you. If we could keep our police presence on our roads, especially in the interior of our town, where we have so many people walking, I think that would be very great. Thank you for implementing this and giving us this information.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, Robert Shahoo.
You know, I'm probably a technical dweeb compared to everybody else in town. As you can tell, I can barely sign into this meeting. Why don't we put this report from the chief on our website so that people can see that the average speed is not 40, 50 miles an hour. You know, Westlake Drive has been suggested it's a racetrack. There are some bad actors, but at the same time, you know, the speed the speed trailer is working as a deterrent. I think that's good. So I think we need to let the residents know, our neighbors know, that this is the information that we've compiled. Can't hurt it. It's 2 pieces of paper. And I would even go so far as to do your data, your year to date. Put that on the website. Very easy.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I think Dan Clark has a question.
So one of the challenges it's going to be with the master plan and with these reports is they're not ADA compliant. It's probably going to be impossible to make the master plan ADA compliant. We can work with the chief to develop a form so that his future reports can be ADA compliant and can be posted on the website.
You know, Mr. Clark, we've been hearing that that position, I think, all throughout the state of Florida and within the Florida League, and also obviously the big challenges within the Palm Beach County League of Cities. We can at least put a blurb out there that says that, you know, the chief's monthly report is available. Contact the town.
Yes,
we could do that. Now,
you know, we don't want to invite, you know, any unnecessary litigation for being non-ADA compliant, but
right.
At least if the residents know, if our neighbors know that this information is available, and we can send it to them. Thank you. Chief, good job. Thank you.
All right. Now remember on the report that I've got people that are arrested for domestic violence, narcotics, and that stuff is part of the report. That is public information. And generally what I've done, if somebody was interested in it, I would share that information. Also, in my report, I share confidential stuff with you dealing with sometimes investigations involving the FBI.
And you know
Also,
what to make
training.
available to the public and whatnot.
Okay, I got you. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any other questions from any council members for the chief?
No.
I just want to make a comment, Wes. Thank you so much for your hard work. I think the police department's more important now during a pandemic than anybody else, and we really appreciate it. We got some new officers. On July 4th, we had the police officer with his boat at the boat ramp. It was a very busy July 4th, and a lot of boats were coming in and out, and I think his presence really helped. Okay, so our other status report, poor Charlie Scheck has been sitting over here quietly for 2 hours. Charlie, could you tell us your report, please?
Mr. Mayor, council members, my report is included in your agenda packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions regarding the report.
Well, I do have one question, Charlie. I do have a question, Charlie. We had a discussion last week about solicitation and the possibility of us suspending issuing permits for solicitation. What action would we have to take in order to not grant solicitation permits during COVID?
You would have to follow the state procedure for the adoption of a moratorium ordinance, which requires first and second reading. You typically have a moratorium when you are rewriting your ordinance to address items of concern. In this case, you're not looking to amend or change your ordinance, so the moratorium becomes more problematic and complicated. But you would have to follow that procedure in order to suspend the effectiveness of an ordinance.
Could we make minor changes in the future, and would that satisfy the requirement?
You're talking about making amendments to the ordinance itself?
Yes.
You always have the ability to amend your ordinance based on the current economic and social conditions. But we have to always take in mind that those changes must be constitutional. But the answer to your question is yes.
I appreciate that question. Many residents have expressed concern that people are soliciting at their house, particularly because some of those people are not soliciting with masks on. And it is a public health safety issue, so we may want to put that on an agenda for August.
Okay, we'll do that. I have a follow-on question, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Garage sales. We're also getting requests for garage sale permits.
I don't know if council feels the same way, but I think garage sale permits, solicitation, anything that encourages social interaction at a level more than just a few people probably might be in the best interest of our town to curtail, given that we hit a record this weekend for the number of COVID positives in the whole country. But I'd like to hear what the council thinks about that.
I probably want to think about it some more, but generally speaking, if someone wants to hold a garage sale, I have no desire to get in their way. The way I see it, they're the ones who would be putting themselves at risk of exposure. They're the ones that have the responsibility and liability to comply with any CDC guidelines. And then in order to protect our residents, we would be assuming that that neighbor or that resident would then contact other residents, and those residents wouldn't know about the garage sale or otherwise not have an issue with it. And then I just don't see why the town should get involved on that level of someone's personal business in their own home, on their own property. So that's my off the cuff thoughts on that.
Any other comments?
I think as long as they,
I look at it this way. Somebody knocks on your door, wants to sell you some, some goods. Don't answer the door. Tell them to go away. Just don't open the door, number one. Number two, Paul made a very good point. What we've done as a town is to limit public gatherings where we are responsible for it. If somebody wants to put a garage sale and sell a tchotchke, look, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go out to dinner. It's their freedom of choice. Why do you want to get the government involved?
I guess the question becomes, we issue permits for both of those things. And does the permit issuance encourage the behavior, sort of like us holding a picnic? Sure, no one has to come to the picnic, but if we hold the picnic, people will probably show up. Not necessarily everybody, but people will make choices. So the question is the issuance of the permit, and under both circumstances, the garage sale and soliciting, encouraging behavior that is, maybe not the best behavior for the situation we're in now. And I get it. It's a gray area. I get Paul's and Bob's positions completely. And we're in uncharted territory here, obviously. But my understanding was we had temporarily had the idea of not issuing permits for yard sales and or soliciting just because of the pandemic, and we didn't want to do anything as a town to hurt people. Yes, Paul Shahoop.
I mean, if we were to follow that logic of encouraging, then we wouldn't be approving building permits because that are going to require a team of contractors to come in and do work. So then people wouldn't be encouraged to have more than, I don't know, however many people it takes to build a dock or build a boathouse or do an addition or do electrical work, etc. I mean, it's not that we're encouraging it. Garage sales are, I think we limit it one a year. It's really, my understanding, it's a rubber stamp thing. You fill out the stuff, you get to do it. I don't think we're dealing with some type of public health risk. I don't think we're encouraging people to get together. I think we're respecting people's rights to do what they want to do on their property that are within the laws of our state and our county and our town. So if someone wants to view it that way, I think it's a radical or extreme viewpoint. And I think I just explained that by saying we can't issue any building permits because then we're promoting people getting from outside of town coming in and building whatever they want with however many contracting crew people they need. I mean, that's just one that, again, off the cuff, I just came up with. Imagine if I had time to really sit and think about it. So
I know. I understand what you're saying.
That's
a building permit's different than a yard sale. A yard sale encourages
still a permit that we're allowing people to use to then on their property to then allow do work.
Right,
so
but a yard sale
it's the same concept. We'd be allowing someone to sell from their home, which would allow people to come to their home. So it's still a permit that we're issuing. Not really. Not on the concept of what are we promoting.
Well, the yard sale is encouraging people from all over to come in to look at items and buy things as if you were in Costco, which, Costco, of course, requires masks when you go in. But we wouldn't.
This appears to be a non-issue. Put it on the agenda and let's get rid of it, with a real quick vote. We can sit here and go all the way. We're going in circles.
No, obviously we're going to be going in circles on this all the time. I mean, the whole country's going in circles on this. I mean,
Well, with a
Every
real
state is different.
with a real quick motion, you won't be going in circles.
I know
Right,
which
but-
way I'm gonna go.
Well, I understand, and the point is this: the question came up. Charlie had to deal with the legal issue, right, Charlie? Right, Charlie? I mean, right. So Charlie had a legal issue that came up, and he dealt with it appropriately. I don't know. How do you feel, Mr. Freebold and Mr. Pavone, about this?
I've been saying all along.
Wait, we need your microphone on.
Keep getting muted. I hardly said anything. I'm taking it all in. I want to see the pictures of Albert cutting the grass at St. Juliana's from Virginia. I think Bob has already seen them. He said he wants to see the pictures. Every
I'll
man
show
for
him
himself out there. I agree. If you're going to go, I'll tell you, I go into many different homes on a regular basis. I'm always going to protect myself for everybody else's welfare. So if you're having a yard sale, you're putting yourself at risk. It's kind of up to you in a way. I personally would not be having a yard sale right now, but if people want to do that and they want to allow people to come on and not protect, I don't know how you stop them.
I hear what you're saying. What about you? I think if you are going to put yourself at risk, protect yourself and protect the others. As long as you follow the CDC guidelines, I'm okay with them having a garage sale. You know, I hate to see there be a stop to that, because we don't understand everybody's livelihood or how they're surviving during these times. So that garage sale might be their next meal, so I don't want to stop them from doing that as long as they follow the proper guidelines. That's how I see it.
Okay, well, it sounds from what I'm hearing from council is we don't even bother putting this on our agenda. We just keep status quo, and we have to issue permits for everything that we normally issue permits for, including yard sales and whatever other soliciting of items, or solicitations. Go ahead.
Still muted, Mr. Clark?
Someone unmute yourself.
That's what he does for me. I'm more technology challenging you, Bob. So, Mr. Mayor, it goes back to this too. Just go hang out at the boat ramp for a little while. Just sit back and observe. Be an undercover boss and see how many people there are actually following those guidelines or the suggested guidelines. It'll surprise you.
Remember, they're guidelines. They're not They're not laws.
Right. And so it would be for a garage sale also.
Yeah.
Next.
Thank you. Speaking of guidelines, effective July 16th, we were given ordinance number 2020-014, which shuts down restaurants at 11 o'clock and things of that nature. We're still in a state of emergency, so every week we have to sign this state of emergency for our town, which is fine. I only brought the issue up because Charlie came to me and gave me a well-written memo of why we couldn't do it, why we couldn't stop solicitation. But the intent behind stopping it was good, because I think everyone wants to be cautious, and people are dying left and right and getting sick left and right. And I guarantee you by our next council meeting, there will be many more people we know who are tested positive. So this is just how it works. Okay, with that being said, our other status reports, we have Dan Clark.
I'm happy to answer any questions on my status report. I do have one update to provide. The Keller Road gates system got totally fried in that electrical mishap that occurred. The two gates are going to have to be replaced. Working with Palm Beach County Fire Rescue on the criteria for replacing those gates. They are going to require us to add a click to open feature in those gates, and they're going to require us to add a Knox box to those gates so that they can move through without impediment. As soon as we have that information pinned down, we'll place an order and get those replaced. Right now, they are working with 0 time. Basically, you pull up to them and they open, and that's because all of the internal pieces got cooked. They scap together some stuff to get them working, but we can't do much more with them until we get them replaced. That is, by the way, an insurance claim that we've submitted to our insurance carrier.
So are we looking at what costs to the town to do these repairs
Or
replacements?
The costs are $10,000, about just under, but we'll end up paying $1,000 deductible.
Oh, nice.
We're also going back to Asplund, or the insurance company is going back to Asplund to get reimbursement. Sorry, Mayor.
You hear me?
Says you're self-muted.
No, it says you've unmuted yourself, but there, okay. The organizer finally unmuted me. Can you consider LED lights across the poles like most homeowner associations have?
It's part of the package.
Okay, good. Any other questions from any other council? Dan Clark's report.
Mr. Clark, if you want, I tried to unmute me. I'm muted by the organizer. So he's muting me. It's not me. I can't unmute myself. Dan, I wanted to recognize you and congratulate you for your recognition by the Florida Development Finance. And thank you for all your hard work with those boards. We know you put in a lot of time and a lot of travel, so thank you. I see the recognition letter. Very nice.
Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Dan, we received $4,500 from Florida Development Finance, part of Fred.
They are the financial advisor and a executive administration team for Fred.
So we received $4,500.
He did.
Is that money going to be earmarked for anything in particular?
That would be up to council.
I'd like to make a motion right now on that, or something we can think about.
Go ahead.
I'd like for that money to go into the same fund all of the liens and foreclosure related money goes into. So it's earmarked for the beautification of our lakes, our lake canal system, if you will, or the security cameras, which at this point, as we all know, we're pretty much stocked up on the security camera stuff. So I move that be what we do with that money.
Do we have a second for discussion?
I'll second it for discussion.
And then my next question would be, Dan, do you have any particular immediate need, or you have any suggestions?
We haven't given it that much consideration. There was some discussion with FDFC that we would look into covering some of our COVID costs, but I don't have anything specific at this point in time.
Well, do you need some time to put together a plan, or are you happy with the direction of the motion?
I'd like to have a month to think about it.
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay, so there's a
Thank
motion
you.
to table Paul Shahub's motion to earmark the $4,500 for particular purposes. Seconded by Paul. All those in favor of tabling the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. So here we are, 8:45, and it's getting late, so it's time for council comments. We will start with Greg Freebold, if you don't mind.
I have nothing at this time.
How about you, Albert?
I am good, busy as could be. happy. Family's doing good, so no complaints over here.
Our house is selling in Lake Clark Shores.
We have such a shortage on homes right now that is driving me nuts. I have a lot of people asking me and not enough homes to deliver at the moment.
Why would you move from Lake Clark Shores?
It's a tough question.
You find a house on the intercoastal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob Shalhoub, you have any comments? I'm sorry.
You know, when I look at what was this town of Lake Clark Shores license application, where they're making an application to install a dock, and you get what goes through the staff's mind when there's two of them in your packet? The town of Lake Clark Shores application, Pine Tree Lane, West Palm Beach, Florida. Arabian Road East, West Palm Beach, Florida. What in the world is going on here?
Well, I hate to say it, a lot of people put West Palm Beach, Florida as their address for our town.
Well, you know, I paid a trip. I paid a visit to the post office when I first got on council, because the utility bills were going 1701 Barbados Road, West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm going, why are you doing that? It just makes you sit there and you go, come on, man.
I know.
Thank you all very much. Everybody remain safe. Dan, you did a great job. Chief, you're doing a great job. And I'd like to see the Marine unit over here on the back end of Westlake Drive, because it's nuts. And it's usually on a Sunday afternoon when somebody's trying to get back to John Prince Park or Lake Osborne. It's just it's a freeway.
It is. It is. I hear it from my house, and you know, Albert, you're close enough to hear it probably, and Paul, you are too. I've offered to loan my jet ski out to the police department for a hefty fee, and let them use it. I think it would be nice to have an officer out there on a jet ski chasing down one of these crazy people. My jet ski was just tested at 69 miles an hour on the lake, and of course I have it for sale for that reason. But it would be nice to have maybe an undercover officer on a jet ski to really get these people. But then again, what do you do when you're on a jet ski and you're a police officer? I mean, how do you execute your duties? I don't, you know, it's not easy. It's like going after those high-speed motorcyclists down I-95 that we see all the time. You know, but thank you, Bob. Paul, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any comments at this time.
Okay, thank
you. Hope you all have a wonderful week.
It was a good meeting tonight. It was a little long, but you know what? We got through a lot of things. I just want to remind everybody the importance of this. I mean, this is really what it's about, and so many people don't want to use this, and we really have to. We are going to find out in the next few weeks. A lot of people in our town are positive. I already found out about 4 or 5 of them that I know in town are, and you know, that's what it's going to be. And we're just going to have to protect ourselves and protect the most vulnerable people from this pandemic. So, you know, I'm just hoping that as council members, we all encourage everyone to be socially responsible as best as we can. And it's not natural and it's not normal. Bob, you always want to hug someone, don't you?
You know what? It's
hard.
Somebody walked into the office, and when this whole thing started, we just looked at each other and smiled.
Yeah, but that's hard because you have a natural reaction to go up and want to hug someone. Yeah. That's who you are.
You know what? I tell you what. Maybe next year.
I know. And I just say that because it's been a challenge for Dan and our town, and making sure everybody here is protected and safe. Dan, I think you're doing an amazing job in the midst of this pandemic because we're coming at you with 10,000 things. In fact, I've been begging Dan to talk. So I play tennis, as you all know, and that's the one socially responsible sport we're allowed to play, they say, although who knows, maybe it isn't. Golf is too. Who knows, maybe it isn't. But people have asked me in the park to put water there, and I told them we can't put water fountains. We don't have bathrooms, and people are upset about it. And I've asked Dan to consider maybe vending machine. So we have water, so people can buy water, at least in a socially responsible way. But what it really boils down to, I think, is we're a town and we're trying to reassure people that we're going to help them be safe. The problem is we don't have all the answers of what it means to be safe. So, I think this is a challenging time for us. I feel very bad for people who are dying. I heard of people going to COVID parties. I can't believe someone would go to a COVID party to see if they could get sick. And then you hear this one girl told the nurse, she went to a COVID party. She's 33 years old and she died. And I hear stuff like that and it really gets you scared. And I have 2 kids in high school and, what do you do with them? So I think everybody has different opinions and views here. I think all you council members need to be together. We all need to be together for this, okay? Because this isn't funny. This isn't something that's ever happened to any of us before, ever. We've had hurricanes. This hurricanes pale in comparison to this. The tornadoes, we have bad weather, we've had a recession. Gentlemen, we need to come together on this. And I appreciate all of you working so hard for our town because when you think about it, is there any better place to ever be stuck in isolation than Lake Clark Shores? No. Absolutely not. And I'm very fortunate. I feel bad for people who aren't here. So I wanted to kind of leave it with that. And thank you for attending virtually and everybody out there who did attend. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts, our town council. And let's not forget about all the people who've died. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Second, anyone?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Be safe, everybody.
Take
Be
care.
safe, gentlemen.
Bye.
Take care.